of Adam. Yeah, you heard me right. God, the allegedly all-powerful creator of the universe, was scared of a single man. Hidden Gnostic scriptures like the Apocalypse of Adam on the origin of the world and the secret Gospel of John expose secrets that have been kept from us for centuries. And these texts were so terrifying to the church that they tried to destroy them all and persecuted anyone who had them as heretics. We're going to uncover why Adam was such a threat to God and how this ancient knowledge can transform your understanding of reality. And by the end of this video, you'll find out that it reveals the truth about what you really are, a truth that the church doesn't want you to know. Have you ever felt like there's a deeper truth about your existence that you're not being told? Well, what if I told you that you have a hidden potential that's been deliberately kept from you? See, I'm an ex-Christian, and I was always taught that Adam and Eve's story was about disobedience and punishment. But when I left the church and started exploring these ancient books, I found a completely different story. See, the Apocalypse of Adam is a book that gives us a very different picture and tells the story from Adam's point of view. And in it, Adam reveals something huge. Are you ready? There are actually two gods, the true God of light and a false satanic god of darkness. The true eternal God, which is a mind of divine light and the foundation of existence, is hidden. The evil false god is the creator of the material world and none other than the God of the Bible. This book starts with Adam speaking to his son Seth. So I'm sure that you've heard of Cain and Abel, but Seth, who's Seth? Well, we'll get to that soon, and it's important and it ties everything together. But first, we need to know what Adam tells him. So Adam tells Seth about how he and Eve were originally beings of light, full of divine knowledge, and directly connected to the eternal higher realm of light. Adam said, "When God created me out of the earth, along with Eve, your mother, I went about with her in a glory which she had seen in the eon from which we had come forth. She taught me a word of knowledge of the eternal God, and we resembled the great eternal angels, for we were higher than the God who had created us and the powers with him, whom we did not know." Wait, what? Adam and Eve were originally higher than the God who created them? But how does that make sense? Well, you'll notice that Adam makes a distinction between the God who created him out of the earth versus the eternal God. Adam said, the eon from which we had come forth, meaning the God of the Bible didn't actually create Adam, he just made Adam's body. But if our bodies are just shells, then what are we really? What's our true nature? See, originally Adam and Eve were beings of light and knowledge, and their true selves originated from a divine realm, the realm of the true God. In Gnosticism, it was known as the pleroma. It was only their physical forms that were created by the false satanic God. But it gets even crazier than this. Adam continues, "Then God divided us in wrath. Then we became two eons." So this God, angry and jealous of their power, actually divided Adam and Eve. In other words, Adam and Eve were originally one unified being, but they were put into physical bodies and split apart, stripping them of their divine glory and knowledge. So what if the story that we've always known about Adam and Eve is actually about a jealous God trying to control them by dividing the power? After all, doesn't the biblical story where God makes the tree of knowledge forbidden make a lot more sense when it's understood as an attempt to keep them from gaining knowledge? Doesn't make sense otherwise. Adam goes on, "The glory in our hearts left us, me and your mother Eve, along with the first knowledge that breathed within us, and it fled from us." So they lost all their knowledge, leaving them ignorant, and this was a calculated move by the evil ruler to ensure that they stayed under his control. Adam then describes how they lost their memory and forgot about the eternal God of light and what they actually were. The Apocalypse of Adam says, "After those days, the eternal knowledge of the God of truth withdrew from me and your mother Eve. Since that time, we learned about dead things like men. Then we recognized the God who created us, and we served him in fear and slavery." Adam and Eve forgot what they truly were, and so they submitted to the lesser God who created them. So growing up, when I was a Christian, I always felt that there was a deeper truth that we weren't being told, that there was something just beyond our reach. And reading books like these made me feel like I was uncovering layers of a hidden reality, one where we're not just lowly sinners, but where our potential is infinitely greater than anything that we've been told. What if the true story of Adam and Eve is actually about a cosmic struggle for control? But wait.
Now, family, I'm video recording this. You have to make your own mind up. You have to make your own decision, okay? You have to do that. If it resonates with you, it resonates with you. But listen to it to the end and hear what is being said and open your heart and your mind, okay? All right.
Wait a minute, this book, The Apocalypse of Adam, it starts more or less in the middle of the story. Where did Adam actually come from? What was he before he became trapped in a body? Well, the book, On the Origin of the World, describes what happened before humans and even the physical world were created. According to On the Origin of the World, the universe is much more layered and complex than the simple creation story that we know from the Bible. Like the Apocalypse of Adam, this book reveals that Adam was originally a being of light, known as an eon, and was infinitely more powerful than the creator God, who is not the true God. The true God is the source, a realm of pure light, while the false God is a lower, ignorant being of darkness who's named Yaldabaoth and was the chief ruler of chaos. So we know most of that already, but let's go back even further. According to On the Origin of the World, before Adam was trapped in a material body, he was an emanation from the true God of light and had the knowledge and power and ability to create and shape reality itself. And this terrified Yaldabaoth because it threatened his supremacy. The Origin of the World says, Adam of light created a great eternal realm for himself. In that eternal realm, he created 6 realms and their worlds, 6 in number, which are 7 times better than the heavens of chaos and their worlds. Notice this passage calls him Adam of light to emphasize this isn't the Adam that we know in a physical body. It's the divine Adam, a god that's so powerful that he created realms and worlds that were 7 times better than anything that Yaldabaoth could create. And this infuriated Yaldabaoth, who wants to be seen as the only God. Think about it. In the Bible, God claims that there are no other gods besides him, like in Isaiah 45:5, where he says, I am God, the only God there is. Besides me, there are no real gods. But On the Origin of the World tells a different story. Yaldabaoth is often called the chief creator, and he has dark servants known as archons. So when the archons see that Adam is a more powerful god, they laugh at Yaldabaoth. On the Origin of the World says, before Adam of light withdrew in the chaos, the authorities saw him. They laughed at the chief creator because he lied, saying, I am God, and there is no other God but me. When they came to him, they said, is this not the God who ruined our work? So this paints a very different picture from the Bible. Here, the authorities, or archons, are mocking Yaldabaoth because he claimed to be the only God. And they pointed out that Adam is clearly a far more powerful God that puts their creations to shame. So what did they do? They came up with a plan. On the Origin of the World continues. Yaldabaoth answered and said, yes, but if you wish that he not be able to ruin our work, come, let's create a human being from the earth to serve us, so that whenever this being sees his likeness, he may become enamored of it. Then he will no longer ruin our work, but we shall make those who are born from the light our servants through all the time of this age. The idea was that if Adam became trapped in the body, he would become so blind and forgetful and distracted by the material world that he wouldn't realize what he really was. And so the archons could then continue to trap more souls of light in bodies to enslave humanity. So according to this book, the creation of humanity wasn't out of kindness or love, but a move to control and manipulate. Now there's another forbidden book called the Secret Book of John, and this sheds more light on this. It says, Yaldabaoth's demonic forces envied the man. His understanding was far greater than that of those who had created him, and greater than that of the chief ruler himself. When they realized that he shone with light and could think better than they could, they took him and cast him down into the lowest depths of the material world. Yaldabaoth made Adam completely forgetful. So Adam's light and intellectual power were so intimidating that the rulers were driven by fear and envy, and they tried to suppress his potential by trapping him in the physical realm, causing him to forget his divine nature. Now, I want you to remember that the Apocalypse of Adam says that God divided Adam and Eve into 2 beings to divide their power. The Secret Book of John agrees with this as well, but what does that really mean? Well, Adam represents the power of the mind, while Eve represents something called epinoia, which is a bit like intuition and the ability of the mind to think about itself. So this division allowed Yaldabaoth to keep Adam and Eve from self-reflecting and realizing their divine nature, keeping them in a low state of consciousness. But hold on, let's go back, because here's where everything connects and brings you into the story. Remember in the Apocalypse of Adam, Adam is telling all this to his son Seth? Well, this is key. Normally you hear about Cain and Abel, so What made Seth different? Well, there's a darker story here. According to the secret book of John, Cain and Abel were the result of the evil God forcing himself on Eve. So they were born out of an act of violation and represented the flawed creation of Yaldabaoth. But Seth was different. Seth was the true son of Adam and Eve. Now, why is this so critical? Because Seth represents the union of Adam and Eve after they were divided. In other words, Seth had the power to reflect on himself and realize his divine nature. Well, what does this have to do with you? Well, after God flooded the world, the only humans that were left were descendants of Seth. In other words, according to Gnosticism, we're all descendants of Seth. This means that every single one of us carries within us the potential to awaken that divine spark, to reconnect with the higher realms that we're originally from. So Seth symbolically represents the ability to understand what we truly are. He symbolizes the reunion of the divided power of Adam and Eve. Through Seth, this divine spark continues, and Seth's descendants aren't just physical beings, but carriers of divine light. So this is why Seth is so significant. He represents the potential for humanity to awaken and realize our true nature. But here's where it gets even more fascinating, because many who followed these ancient books believed that Jesus was the incarnation of Seth. So Jesus didn't come as a savior from sin, but as a revealer of knowledge, a guide to help us remember our true nature. So Jesus' teachings, many of which were suppressed by the early church, point towards this radical idea of self-realization and divine awakening. So he taught that the kingdom of God is within us, and that we have the potential to awaken and realize our divine nature. So if Jesus was teaching us to become like gods, to awaken the divine spark within us, what does that say about the mainstream religious lies that we've been fed for centuries? If we understand that Jesus' true message was about awakening our divine nature, then the fear of Adam by God makes more sense. God was terrified of Adam because he knew that within humanity lay the seeds of divine rebellion, the potential to awaken and overthrow the false creator. The fear of Adam by God, as depicted in these ancient books, isn't just about one person. It's about the potential of all humanity, the divine spark within us that could ignite, leading to a mass enlightenment that would render the false god powerless. Now, if we accept that we have a divine spark within us, the question is, how do we awaken it? In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, "When you know yourselves, you will understand that you are children of the living Father." This means that self-knowledge is the key to unlocking our divine potential. By truly knowing ourselves, we can realize our inherent divinity. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus also said, "If they say to you, 'Where have you come from?' say to them, 'We have come from the light, from the place where the light came into being by itself. We are its children." Now, it's critical to understand that these ancient books are metaphors and symbolic. These events didn't actually happen. They're stories to help us realize what we really are. Adam and Eve are depicted as beings of light, and this symbolizes the divine knowledge and connection to the higher realms that humans possess. They're a metaphor for divine connection. Now, Seth, as the son of Adam and Eve, represents our ability to self-reflect and discover that inner divinity. And Christ represents the activation of this inner divinity, Christ consciousness, a higher state of mind. So Yaldabaoth isn't actually the creator of the material world. Yaldabaoth represents ignorance and the obstacles that keep us from fully realizing our potential. So modern day Christianity can be seen as a tool of Yaldabaoth. It's a false light that has twisted the message of Christ and perpetuates the ignorance of our true nature, keeping us locked in bondage. The original message was one of self-realization and divine awakening. We're not meant to be Christians. We're meant to be Christ's. You're not just a mere human being. You are a being with divine potential, a spark of the eternal source that's capable of awakening to a higher consciousness and challenging all the falsehoods and lies that have kept you bound. You have within you the power to transform your reality, to break free from the chains of ignorance, and to become what you were always meant to be. A divine being, enlightened, powerful, and free. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe. Check out my other videos. And if you want to help my channel grow, become a member on Patreon.